Since the Ibis Ripmo was introduced, it has been receiving rave reviews and people will not stop talking about it. But does it live up to all the hype, and does it compare to all the other great long travel 29ers on the market? Let's talk about it. Hey guys, Josh here with Daily Mountain Bike Rider, and today I am reviewing the 2018 Ibis Ripmo, which is their long travel 29er. I've ridden a lot of long travel 29ers and tested them here on the channel, and people kept telling me I needed to give this a try because this bike was a notch above the rest. So I really wanted to figure out if that was true. So I headed over to my local shop, which is Fanatic Bike Company, and they hooked me up with this sweet Ripmo demo. And I just have to say, if you're ever in the Bellingham area and you need a great demo, or your bike is in need of fixing so you can get out on the trails, Fanatic is the place to hook you up. And not only are they a great local shop, but they have an awesome online presence. So you can find a bunch of great deals on parts, as well as build sweet custom bikes on their website. But let's get on to the Ripmo. Looking at this build, this is the Ibis Ripmo X01 build. This comes in at $7,100, and let me run you through the spec real quick so you know what I was riding. Starting at the wheel set, this is the Ibis 938 rims, which are a really wide 29er rim that gives a great tire profile. These are laced to Ibis hubs, and the tires are a Maxxis Minion DHF on the front, which is a 29 by 2.5, and on the rear you have a Maxxis Aggressor, which is also a 29 by 2.5. The drivetrain is a SRAM X01 drivetrain, which includes the cassette, the shifter, and of course the carbon cranks. And this performed well above my expectations the whole time I rode the bike. Looking at the suspension, up front you have a Fox 36. This is the factory RC2 version, which is 160 millimeters of travel. So you do also get that high speed, low speed adjustment, which is very nice. And in the rear you have 145 millimeters of travel, and this is the Fox DP-X2. Looking at the cockpit, you have an Ibis carbon bar, which is connected to a Thompson aluminum stem. And on that you have standard just lizard skin grips, which worked really well. And the brakes for this bike are the Shimano XTs, which personally are my favorite brakes, and I love them with a SRAM drivetrain, so I think Ibis did great on that. Last but not least, you have the Fox transfer dropper, which is always reliable with 150 millimeters of travel, and just a standard Ibis saddle. Now, enough about the spec, let me talk about how the bike rode. And what I love to do is first talk about climbing. But instead of just telling you all the things I thought about climbing, here's my thoughts as I was on the trail climbing the bike.
All right, guys, so we're out here climbing on the trail. And the first thing you notice right off the bat about the Ripmo is this seat tube angle is the steepest thing I've ridden in a long time. Now, I have ridden Transitions New Sentinel. That bike climbed fine. It wasn't spectacular or anything, but this bike is phenomenal. I mean, it just climbs everything really well. So I'm gonna keep climbing and go over some interesting obstacles and just really put the traction in the field to the test. So let's do it.
Looking back at my whole riding experience, in short, the Ripmo climbs better than any other long travel bike I have ridden. I mean, hands down, this seat angle really gets you right over the cranks and allows you to really twist the bars. Even with that offset fork, you feel like you can climb up anything, and any climb I found, I could clean with ease. Now, moving on to the downhill. I also spent some time on a couple downhills telling you what I thought about the bike on the trails.
All right, guys, so I've been riding this bike downhill on a handful of trails now, and the biggest surprise I felt about the Ripmo is I thought it was going to be this just really plush bike, like just super, just cushiony. But in fact, it's very responsive. I have the fork and the rear shock set up to the proper sag. I almost just blow out the rear shock sometimes. Probably needs a different spacer for my size. But even with that, the bike rides really well and you feel firm in the travel. I feel like I can pop off anything. It handles well after braking. Like the nose doesn't vary. Shy of that though, the next thing that surprised me was the front fork is not like super raked out. I thought with the specs it was gonna feel a lot like the Sentinel, but where the Sentinel just gives unrealistic confidence, this just feels more playful. It's a fun bike, definitely is agile for a 29er, and I'm really enjoying it. So I'm gonna keep riding, pass it back to myself later on tonight, tell you how the rest of this ride went. Yo!
In hindsight, this bike was not as plush or as long of a wheelbase feeling as I thought it was gonna be, but I felt like the bike was super agile, it was playful, and it wanted me to push into it, and every time I did, it responded and made me smile, and I felt like I was really in tune with the bike in order to jump it and rail corners just like I wanted to very quickly. But let me give you my top 3 things I did not like about the Ibis Ripmo, as well as the top 3 things I loved. But let's start with the negative. The first is the sizing of the bike. I'm 5'9", I'm not the tallest guy, but in every bike brand, I am a medium. But anytime I jump on an Ibis, I feel like the bike is always just a tiny bit small. I think this time it was the cockpit feel, and it's probably because of that steep seat tube angle, that I felt like it was a little harder to maneuver around corners. I didn't notice it as much as I was on the trail, but especially when I was in the parking lot getting the bike set up, it felt just a tiny bit small. The next thing I didn't like, and I've said this about other bikes, but it's important to me, is the price point. This X01 build obviously is pretty pimped out, but at $7,100, you pay a lot of money, and yet you still don't have the super nice Ibis carbon rims that they're known for. Small note, but it is important. And the third thing I didn't like was I didn't feel like this bike had the charging downhill power that other 29ers have. I've said it before and I'll say it again, the Transition Sentinel is the best downhill descender long travel 29er I've felt. And there's a lot of other good ones on the market, and this was in no way bad, it just wasn't as great as I expected. So let's move on to the good things about the bike. Number 1, hands down, was the climbing. You don't get a better climbing long travel 29er than the Ibis Ripmo. And I know we don't talk about climbing a lot because we love doing the downhills, but you've got to get up the trail, and a lot of you ride more technical ascents as you get up to the top. And the Ripmo, you're going to love for anything you have to go up. The next thing I really like is, while I said one of the negatives was the bike didn't feel as planted as I liked, I loved how playful the bike felt. It sat higher up in its travel, so it didn't feel like it was wallowing. And I felt like anytime I pushed it off a jump or a berm, the bike just wanted to be alive. And last but not least, their DW Link suspension with the new bushing in the lower part of it is great. And the big thing I noticed was climbing. I'm the type of guy, even though people say you don't have to switch your rear shock to a trail mode or a lockout in order to climb, I always do. I'm 180, 185 pounds, and I just hate getting any bob because it takes my energy. But this is the first bike that I didn't get pedal bob on the way up. And it was so nice because on flatter trails or going over an obstacle, the suspension was playful when I needed it to be, and yet planted when I was pressing into the suspension to get speed or going uphill. Overall thoughts on the Ripmo, man, this is a really, really good bike. Do I think it's hands down the best long travel 29er on the market? No. But then again, I think it has a lot of value that other bikes don't have, but I think overall it deserves a seat at the table as one of the best long travel 29ers. I would definitely put it up there with my Evil Reckoning and the Transition Sentinel and the Santa Cruz Hightower LT as one of the best long travel 29ers out there. But at the end of the day, you can only hear a guy and other guys on YouTube talk so much about it, but you need to go out there, throw a leg over a Ripmo, and see how it feels for you. All right, if you like this video, do me a favor, click that like button. Make sure to leave a comment down below on what you think, and let me know which bike you would like to see me demo next. All right, you know what time it is. Don't spend too much time watching crazy guys on YouTube talk about themselves riding a bike, but get out there and ride your bike. Make sure you do it every day so that you can get better every single